Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you'll manage to stretch your legs, take your dogs for a walk, those of you who have dogs. Right, welcome to the afternoon bit. This morning was all about hopefully inspiring, creating a sense of possible. This afternoon we get much more into the practical next steps. So how do we do this? What are the delivery models we need to use? What are the tools and tactics we can apply in our daily work? Talking about daily work, if I were in the room with you, I would be doing a temperature check now. I'm not, we're just connected by pixels, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. Take a couple of seconds to think about where you are on your journey, your contributions to greening urban space. What's the primary emotion you feel? If you want to, you can stick a one word, not 7 hyphenated words, one word in the chat, or you can just sit with it and think about it. And the point here, frustration. Thank you, Liz. The point here is to get a sense of where people are. Yeah, what the general vibe is. That's what I expected to happen. Okay, so there's those frustrations mediated by the hope and the optimism, and I think that's actually really normal. I think it gets visualized in the crowd, but actually we're all feeling it internally all of the time. And part of the point of doing sessions like this is to be able to share that and create a sense of solidarity so that we can keep moving forward, because this work is incredibly difficult. Right. Keep going. I'm going to ignore the chat for a minute. So there'll be 2 rounds this afternoon of choice, and I will talk you through exactly how you make your choice, but they range from slightly more passive, listening into showcases, project showcases, through to immersive participatory workshops. We'll come back to that in a minute. For now, though, I'm going to hand over to Eilish McGuinness. Eilish, are you there? Brilliant, that worked smoothly. Who is going to set us up for the afternoon? Over to you, Eilish.
Thank you so much. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you all for your incredible energy this morning. Thank you to all the speakers, the participants, and the chairs for making the discussions so engaging. And I think the chat was alive with perhaps not the sound of music, but definitely really, really good, positive things. And I hope everyone's enjoying the new digital conference platform, new kind of to me as well. I think it's really going to allow us to network and test our digital skills. But they're really fantastic things. It allows so many of us to join from right across the UK, which I think is fantastic. This conference is all about how we collaborate, protect the environment, and make our towns and cities greener and better places to live, work, and enjoy, allowing all of us to access nature wherever we live. And around 85% of the UK population now lives in urban areas, and this figure is set to continue to rise year on year. And sadly, people are becoming increasingly disconnected from their rural past, from natural heritage, and from the countryside. And through the projects that the Heritage Fund supports, we often hear this directly, particularly from young people, some of whom have never visited the seaside or a national park, have no idea where their food comes from, have never experienced a night sleeping under the stars, heard a skylark singing, or seen a hedgehog. And the fantastic thing is that we know once young people have access to this, that they can become champions and protectors of the environment. And I think many of us remember our first encounter with nature. I grew up in a farm in Ireland, so I had access to a lot of nature. But my special place was a boggy part of an abandoned part of the field, which was left to wilderness. And I spent many happy hours there. It had bog cotton, grasses, butterflies, and dragonflies, and it was a magical place. And everyone should be able to experience nature close to where they live and to have those joyful memories. And as you know from the agenda, this conference is all about what we really need to do to work together to make our towns and cities greener and with more wildlife, more trees, thriving historic parks, with both existing and new green spaces considered as essential infrastructure in planning for future growth. This is not a new concept, but one that needs reinvigorating with a fresh set of ideas. And I can already see that all of you are motivated and keen to be involved. I live in London, a city with over 400 garden squares, in fact, more garden squares than any other city in the world. And the garden square concept originated in London as far back as the 16th century and has been copied and imitated around the world. And it was conceived as a way of providing high density housing in the city, but allowing access to private green space for leisure and enjoyment. And it may not have been fully understood at the time, but these spaces also provided homes for birds and plants, as well as flowers and trees to purify the soot-filled air. And John Claudius Loudon, the Scottish botanist born in 1782 and now resting in the beautiful garden cemetery at Kensal Green in London, which is actually a favourite green space for me, was a great advocate of city green space. And he was also deeply worried about the urban sprawl of London, and particularly the impending sale of Hampstead Heath for housing in 1829, which motivated him to take action. It was one of the few number of heaths and landscape and commons around London cherished for wild, expansive landscape, but under threat of development. And Loudon's plan was that government should buy all the existing rural and common land around the edge of the city to create a belt around London about a mile out from St. Paul's Cathedral. Development could then be permitted another mile out to create rings of green around the city. If that were done, Loudon wrote, there could never be an inhabitant who would be farther than a half a mile from the open area situation in which to walk or ride. And these rural zones, he suggested, could be then planted with trees and shrubs in a semi-wild landscape of rivers and lakes with rocks, quarries, wild heaths, dells, ravines, hills, valleys, and other natural-looking scenes, wild belts to break up the city. And what a brilliantly creative vision. And Loudon is not the only voice from history who saw the essential need for urban green space. Octavia Hill, the founder of the National Trust, also campaigned against the loss of urban woodlands and the selling off of spaces like Parliament Hill and Hampstead. And she was concerned with the development of social housing for the poor, along with the availability of free, open green spaces to improve their health and well-being. Ebenezer Howard designed his first garden city at Letchworth in 1903 with the aim to reduce the alienation of humans and society from nature. And I think that really speaks to society now, where more and more people are removed from nature and indeed isolated from their communities. And people are at the centre of everything we're doing today, and they're central to protecting green spaces and handing it on to future generations. So the past has taught us much about the importance of nature and parks and gardens in our towns and cities, but many of the same issues apply today. And we need to think again about how we make our towns and cities greener, more livable, and more equitable so that everyone can access to nature close to home. And we need to be bold and innovative like those early people. The National Lottery Heritage Fund has been investing funds raised by players of the National Lottery in urban and parks and green spaces for over 30 years. In fact, some of the first investments we made were to restore some of our most important historic parks like Birkenhead, Battersea and Bute, but we've also supported local green spaces that matter to people. We have invested over 1 billion in regenerating historic parks, garden cemeteries, seaside promenades, nature spaces and community gardens. And we've also invested in research, for example, the first state of UK public park reports. We've also invested in innovation through our Rethinking Parks programme, which helped create new park foundation trusts in both Bournemouth and Bristol. And we've supported places to rethinking how public parks and green spaces can be funded and managed in the future through our Future Park Accelerator with the National Trust. And there was a fantastic presentation earlier from Edinburgh City Council. Nature, towns and cities brings all this work together, and it's a really exciting opportunity to work closely right across all four nations and really get going on this really incredible programme. We'll be investing around 15 million to support a cohort of places to accelerate work in creating nature towns and cities. And together we'll have some of the skills and resources needed to make a difference. But we need other partners and collaborators to join us to really meet our vision. A key part of our Heritage 2033 strategy, launched in 2023, was our ambition to strengthen our partnership working with governments, local authorities, agencies and communities to create new collaborations with those that share our vision. And that vision is for heritage to be valued, cared for and sustained for everyone's future. And it's brilliant to see so many of you here today who I know share that vision for nature in our towns and cities and will be willing to work with us to help more people have access to quality green space on their doorstep. Through Nature Towns and Cities, we also hope to be able to save more heritage, not just the 900 historic parks and gardens within which we have already invested, but also through making towns and cities better able to cope with our rapidly changing climate. And UNESCO has now recognized that climate change is one of the single threats to the world's historic environment. Flooding in historic towns and cities like York, Derby and Pontypridd can threaten the foundations and condition of ancient buildings, can seep into museums, causing damage to vulnerable collections, as well as to the museum buildings, putting precious heritage at risk and causing millions of pounds of damage at a time when the heritage and wider public sector is already under increasing financial pressure to survive. Climate change is also making our towns and cities hotter in summer, which can make historic properties uninhabitable and threatens our unique legacy of historic gardens. But these threats are mitigated by investing in nature-based solutions in both existing and new green and blue spaces right across our cities and towns. Every town and city can help by planting trees to soak up floodwater and to provide urban shading to allow the temperature to lower the temperature in urban places. And wilding green spaces by prioritizing nature over tidiness can help water soak into the soil more effectively and create green corridors through parks and green spaces. We can actually encourage that active travel, walking and cycling, and thereby saving carbon emissions. And within our historic towns and cities, we also need to look for opportunities to create new green spaces, such as rain gardens and woods, both within their centres and around their fringes. The Heritage Fund is our funding partner in Nature Towns and Cities, but we recognise how incredibly important it is for us to work together on our shared ambition for our green space. And we're delighted to work with all of you and indeed to involve wider partnerships and connect to anyone who can help deliver our ambitions, supporting urban nature to recover and connecting everyone to their natural heritage close to where they live. So that does mean businesses, local authority, agencies, communities, and the individual. All of us have a role to play in supporting urban nature to recover and help more people to connect with nature close to where they live. Together, we stand a chance to help reverse the decline of the UK's natural heritage, protecting and enhancing the wealth of historic green and blue spaces across our towns and cities, and creating new green infrastructure that will not only help reduce the impacts of climate change on the historic environment, but also ensure our towns and cities remain livable in the future and to reduce the alienation of humans and society from nature. What a wonderful vision and what a really hopeful aim. I know there will be fantastic opportunities this afternoon to hear from more of you who are delivering projects on the ground and thinking how to engage more people and develop new ideas. I can't wait to hear more from the inspiring projects that you've already described and are showing the way. And I just want to wish you a fantastic afternoon. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Eilish. I should have said, I don't think I introduced Eilish fully. She is Chief Exec of the Heritage Fund. I think that was probably clear. But right. So now we're going off into other rooms. Instructions coming from me just now. They will, I think, also appear in chat. If you get lost, stay put and someone will come and help you. Use chat. Someone will come and help you. The afternoon is split into two parts. There will be a break between the two. Right now, you have a choice between 3 sessions. The first is a project showcase, benefiting people and communities, hearing from Belfast, Eastside, Greenway, Belfast, Edinburgh Nature Network, and Better Place Bradford. The second is a spotlight. It's called How to Involve More Voices in Influencing Decisions. That's Lucy Reed from Democracy Next and Harold Garner from Camden Council. They'll obviously pick up on some of the themes from before lunch. And then the third is a workshop. It's a slightly different version of the workshop in round 2, but this one is called Design Your Own Change with Systems Thinking. It's for those of you who are action oriented and ready to move. To choose where you want to go, so I'm going to say go any minute now. You need to click right at the top of your screen on Event Map. Everyone click on Event Map. If you are staying in the showcase, stay put, don't push anything, just sit here. If you're going to the spotlight or the workshop, click on the spotlight, enter, you see the blue enter text on spotlight or workshop, and you will disappear through a vortex into the right place to join in that. Ready? We should all go now. You have 45 minutes in your rooms. So I'm going to say hello to Sarah, who is here with us, but we're just going to give it a minute or two for people to be able to go through the void to wherever they're going before I hand over. Natalie in the chat, if you go right to the top to Event Map, it says Event Map and Agenda at the top of your screen. Click on Event Map, the links are in there. Great. Okay, I'm going to assume that the majority of people have found their way to wherever they want to go. I'm going off screen. Sarah, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you. So welcome to our case study showcase, and I'm delighted to be sharing with you 3 exciting projects that have brought real benefits of nature to people and communities. They showcase how important our work is in delivering nature to towns and cities, but also build stronger, healthier and more resilient communities, and how it underpins everything that we're trying to deliver. So the format of the session is 3 10-minute presentations, followed by 10 minutes of question and answers. So if you'd like to enter your questions, we'll go through as many as we can later. So without further ado, let's go on to the first presenter, Nadine McAuley from Belfast, who is here to tell us about her award-winning Eastside Greenway.
Hiya, thank you very much for having me. So as Sarah said, my name's Nadine and I'm from Eastside Greenways. So I am just going to share my screen here. So if anyone can't see that, please let me know. But yeah, so I'm the Greenway officer and I'm employed by Eastside Greenways. So we are a project that is part of Eastside Partnership. So Eastside Partnership consists of arts, learning, we have tourism, and we have urban regeneration. And just a very quick rundown. So East Belfast, the Greenway runs, the Connswater Community Greenway runs right the length through East Belfast. So a bit about East Belfast. Initially, when this project started, it was an area of high multiple deprivation. So there was health deprivation, you know, top 3 wards for health deprivation.
Hi Nadine, sorry, it's Beverly. We're seeing the other mode of your presentation. If you could please share the slideshow.
Oh yeah. I don't know how that's happening. Sorry. Sorry about that. Hold on.
Would you like to stop sharing this and start again when you have the slideshow ready, please?
Yeah.
I also have your slide ready with me if you wish me to share it for you.
Yeah, it might be easier if you share it because whenever I put the slideshow on, I can't actually.
No problem. I have your slide ready.
Thank you. So, yeah, if you want to click through then. Just the next slide. Yep, one more. Apologies. So as I was saying, East Belfast is in the top 3 wards for health deprivation, the top 5 for low educational attainment, and the top 4 for the most deprived in terms of physical environment, and that's within the whole of Northern Ireland. So if you want to hit the next slide, it's just a bit of a background about East Belfast. Thank you. So the Greenway story, this is a bit of a before and after of one of our real success areas of the Greenway. If you want to, so it's just a bit of background. It's the Greenway is a living landmark. It was funded through the National Lottery Living Landmark Scheme. There was a £40 million investment in total. It's one of 3 living landmark projects within the UK. And this project transformed how people use the public space for health, well-being, and the environment. And it also had a lot of economic. It also has a lot of economic benefits. And next slide, please. So the Greenway was never explicitly focused on environmental issues. It was about people and bringing people to the place more than anything. But like many projects of this nature, when you focus on what people really need, the environment will benefit along. So this is some before pictures, just what it looked like. If you want to skip to the next slide, please. So we have 16 kilometres of continuous cycle and footway paths developed, which connect East Belfast from Victoria Park through Craigaglen right through the heart of East Belfast. These are safe off-road cycle paths and accesses for pedestrians and cyclists. Next slide, please. So we also had 5 kilometres of river restoration. And if you want to skip to the next slide, 1,700 homes were protected from flooding as part of the river restoration. So what we did was we actually moved a section of the river. It ran along the back of houses that were flooding, and people were having a lot of trouble anytime it rained, even a bit heavily. Their garden was flooding, their homes, they couldn't get insurance. So during the consultation, we were very, very heavily focused on public engagement and consultation through the process. And during that consultation, this issue came up. So we thought, why not do something about that? And the river was moved right into Orangefield Park. So that means that those houses no longer flood. They're no longer in flood zone. Not only that, but Orangefield Park is now a wetland area. So the river floods by design in the park, and as a result has actually increased the biodiversity in the park. Next slide, please. We also have, new play parks, multi-use games areas that have been established all along the Greenway. So it's not just a static park, it's somewhere we want people to spend time. And the picture here we have is a Flora Street Walkway play park. And Flora Street Walkway is one of the most deprived areas, not just in Belfast, but in Northern Ireland. And we wanted to put a really good play park in and a really good multi-use games area in for the community, so that they knew that this is something that they could use, and this Greenway was for them. It's not just for people passing through. We'd like to skip to the next slide, please. We also connected communities in East Belfast who wouldn't have ordinarily had easy access to each other by building 10 new and refurbishing 5 old bridges. So, many of you will know the history of Belfast. It's not really a community that was connected for a lot of reasons, throughout the Troubles. And we're now, 15 new bridges is a testament to how we can connect communities like we couldn't before. Next slide, please. We also are the first parks in Belfast who were open 24/7. There was a lot of kind of pushback against this initially, but we did, again, a lot of community engagement around it. And actually the statistics show that since the Greenway was opened officially in 2017, we now have the lowest antisocial behaviour rates within parks across the whole of Belfast. So it shows that it's a strategy that works. If you light up a park, people are less likely to misuse it. Next slide, please. We also have brought a lot of tourism to East Belfast. C.S. Lewis Square is our main site for events and for activities, and it's a site that brings people together. It's also, through research, has shown to be one of the most diverse areas of East Belfast. So it is bringing people from all communities together. It's also a hop on, hop off bus stop at the red buses, the tourist buses. Next slide, please. It's just an image of Aslan, our statue, in C.S. Lewis Square. And next slide, please. This is just an example of events that we would hold. Throughout the year, we would hold events for the community, and the square holds around 1,500 people for big events. It's something that has brought the community out and brought the community together, but also brought people into East Belfast who wouldn't ordinarily go there. It's a boost to the economy, but it's also a boost to kind of the feeling of the place. Next slide, please. And the Greenway has really become a pivotal place as well for community engagement, not just for Eastside Partnership, but for community associations all across East. We use it as a gathering spot. We sit on a lot of boards and we sit on a lot of stakeholder committees, and we bring people out, and other people bring people out onto the Greenway for walk and talks, for lots of different things. So next slide, please. This is just a very quick focus on one of our Greenway users. So it's just to show that throughout the construction of Greenway, we were very, very heavily involved in community engagement, and it was very important. We actually brought people out to the sites while they were being built. We had funding to bring them out in buses. We gave them hard hats. We gave them plans. We gave them ownership of the space, and it meant that, you know, they could raise issues as they were coming up, but it also meant that they were reassured every step of the way what was happening. And you know, you can see here, Davey, he says he can't sing his praises enough. He's constantly telling people you should see this or that. It's just, you know, it's a space that brings people together. Next slide, please. So yeah, the impact of the Greenway is multifold. It's, next slide. It's a focus for health and well-being. We've maintained the paths and Connswater Community Greenway is accessible to people of all abilities. We recently did have an accessibility survey, and it came out as one of the best places in Belfast to go. But also we're taking into account things that people say in the accessibility surveys, and we are encouraging positive change. Children can walk and cycle to school. There's urban access to open green spaces, and we have various walking groups, and it was also a real lifeline. I think it really came into its own during the pandemic when people were in lockdown. It was a time when people really discovered and really were happy about having the space on their doorstep. Next slide, please. So environmental awareness. The green space is used as an educational tool. You can see here, this image is of some of our volunteers and Greenway leaders doing a big spring clean with Live Here, Love Here. So we've improved the Connswater River. The feedback is that people feel more connected to their natural environment. People in an urban area who wouldn't ordinarily have access to wildlife and fauna now do. We do kick sampling every month in the river. It's public kick sampling, so people can come along and get involved and see what lives in the river, but we can also monitor the health of the river. There's an increase of civic pride, and we have volunteers and Greenway leaders out 2 to 3 times a week, litter picking along the Greenway and taking ownership of the space. Next slide. The social impact as well is massive, and we have a full year-round animation programme all along the Greenway and in C.S. Lewis Square. That means the space is vibrant and full of life. It encourages, again, that community ownership of the space. Next slide, please. So the local heritage was a big consideration as well when we were developing the space, because East Belfast, you know, there's a lot of industrial heritage, there's a lot of natural heritage there. So we have actually developed the space to embrace that and to have heritage trails and tours related to the space. Next slide, please. I'm very aware of time, so skipping through these quickly. So the Greenway is also a way to future-proof the growth of East Belfast. We work with Queen's University Belfast on several research pieces around the impact of the Connswater Community Greenway, and we're always looking for growth opportunities. It means that we can monitor the impacts that we're having. Next slide, please. So Another thing about the Greenway is that green issues can be seen oftentimes as a kind of a middle class issue, and people living along the Greenway, there's generally, as I said, areas of high multiple deprivation. We're giving those people access to the space, and they're actually coming out and they're taking part in the issues. They're getting involved in ways to tackle the issues that are affecting them directly. Next slide, please. So as I say, community ownership is a big key element to sustainability. We have a network of local businesses, community organisations, schools and youth groups who feel a sense of ownership of the space, and also we have a strategic partnership with Belfast City Council, who are the landowners, and they're committed to managing and maintaining the space to a certain standard for 40 years. So it's a living landmark that we're very, very proud of. Final slide, please. Oh, sorry, that might not have come up. The final slide is basically what we're most proud of at the minute. What we're working on is our neighbourhood plan. So it's part of our Nature Neighbourhoods programme, and a big part of that is the Greenway growers. So we have food growing groups that we wouldn't have had before on the Greenway, and we're teaching people local to the area how to grow food, we're bringing them together, and it's not just it's not just environmental, it's not just people, it's everything together. We're reducing social isolation, and we're educating people in where their food comes from, and just the joy of being together and growing their own food. So that's a kind of very quick run through of the Greenway. Hope I didn't go too much over. I'm very passionate about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadine. I mean, your story is truly inspirational and really demonstrates how strategic investment, including lottery, can unlock real economic regeneration through green infrastructure. So now we go to my home patch and a project that I know very well. So over to you, Gill, to tell us more about the Better Start Bradford project.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah. I'm very glad to be here. I'm just looking for the presentation. And let's get there. Right. Right, is that okay? Is that right? Can everybody see the presentation?
We can see your draft presentation, Jill, not the slideshow though.
Right, hang on, I'll go back to the slideshow.
At the lower part of your PowerPoint, there should be an icon, the last icon there, or if you go to the top.
I think I'm going to have to close it because I think, yeah, right, I will do this. Right, is that right?
Not yet, Jill. Can we start sharing again? And just if you can try sharing your entire screen, and then when you slideshow, you get.
Yeah, hang on. Well. Yeah. Oh dear. I thought I'd just stopped sharing.
Yeah, if you start sharing again, and then maybe this time try choosing entire screen so we can see your slide when you put it on slideshow.
Sorry, I don't understand why this is happening. Right.
Bev, would it be easier if you shared the presentation?
I don't have Jill's presentation.
Oh, right. I did send it through earlier, but sorry, I'm just going to close it all down. Sorry about this to everybody who's waiting patiently. Slightly different technology to what I'm used to. Right, I think I'm not sharing now. Start again. Window. I'll close my presentation. I need to open the presentation again. Yeah, apologies. I'm going to stop. So this did work in practice.
Okay, Jill, I've got your PowerPoint ready here. I've downloaded it.
Right, okay, right. I'm going to just close all that down and go back to here. Thank you. Right, let's move on. So I'm Gill Thornton, Director of Better Start Bradford, obviously not the most technical person in the world. And our Better Place project, which I'm going to be speaking about, is going to describe how we've been reconnecting urban families in our area with the natural environment and with nature, and improving play. So if we go on to the next slide, I'll just give a very brief background to Better Start Bradford. This was a lottery-funded programme which started in 2015, one of the big strategic programmes, A Better Start, and place-based programme which we based in 3 of our most deprived wards. And it's really about working out what works in the improving early years outcomes for children. So very much focus on pregnant women and the first 1,001 critical days. Which I think we all understand a lot more about now than we did. And obviously that's the window of opportunity to reduce inequalities in outcomes and give every child the best opportunity to do well in life. And the programme is led by a partnership of community and system leaders. Next slide. So why Better Place? Well, we started off, our outcomes are social, emotional, communication and language and health and nutrition. And we had some evidence-based programmes that we were putting in together with consultation with parents. And then the parents said to us, unless you improve the environment that our children are growing up in, none of these other things are going to work very well. So we got together with the parents and included in our programme the Better Place project. We had learned quite a lot from our partners born in Bradford about the health impact of harmful emissions. And the parents told us they wanted safe spaces, green spaces for their children to play, safe walking routes, and a really nice environment close to home. And we designed a programme that would address the 3 child development outcomes I've mentioned, as well as improving community wellbeing as a result of improving the urban environment. Next slide, please. We commissioned an ethnography sort of analysis of the area, and that helped us to understand better with things that were the barriers and things that were the enablers of the use of those green spaces. So obviously poor quality spaces, parents' fears and lack of feeling safe, things that weren't nearby and things that were hard to access were the barriers. The things that would encourage parents to be there were things where the nature was green and blue and geared to children, that there were activities there for their children to do, and they were safe, welcoming and nearby. And just a very quick example there of one of the first things we did, which was a route between a social housing area and the school and children's centre, which was, as you can see, a bit grim beforehand and was massively improved. And lots of really positive feedback. And one of the interesting things about that is how well it's been maintained and how much the parents and the people who use it look after it. So real success from the Kettlewell Snicket. And if you're from Bradford, you know about Snickets. Can I have the next slide, please? But we did all this in co-production with our parents, and I wanted to just say thank you to the lottery for letting us do this. And it was good to hear from Eilish earlier on. So they gave us £2 million to spend on our improvements for our Better Place project, and allowed us to do all of those in development with the local community rather than giving them a schedule of projects from the beginning. So we started by working with our community, learning about what it was that they needed. We had some tools, our programmes, lots of evaluation and lots of tools. And so we had a community readiness tool to understand what the community thought about what was going on in the local environment, and then engaged with them to build the capacity to lead and make their changes. They helped us to co-design all of our Better Place projects, and that included the children as well and the communities that we were placing them in. And then they helped us to build them, to make them happen. And they've helped to build a legacy for our local communities to be proud of. And they've been alongside us and part of what we've done all the way through and continue to be. Thank you. Next slide. So our approach was working together, as I've said, linking partners and initiatives. And Sarah's here chairing it, but we worked very closely with the local authority and Sarah in particular. So our Better Place manager is based in Sarah's team. And that's made such a difference to how we've managed to achieve the success that we've had, is having that really close relationship with the local authority in particular, but also other local partners, including voluntary sector organisations and all our local people. We've had innovative and imaginative projects and very much based on a really good understanding of early childhood development and the things that will make a difference. Very much more than a series of local improvements. It's been a vision across the area for transforming the urban environment and making it work. And when it works for our little children and their parents, it works better for everybody. We've blended traditional approaches with natural exploration. So we've got climbing frames and swings and things, but very much designed around natural features and including ways of getting children to develop their exploration skills and understanding what they're engaging with. And we've learnt that an ongoing engagement matters, because particularly in urban areas, people will come out and join in things when there's something to do, as well as having something nice there. So we feel that ongoing engagement is a significant part of what our legacy should be. Right, can we move on? So part of the impact, we've done a huge evaluation. Our partner Born in Bradford has led the evaluation. And for this project, we've used some tools. So the NEST tool, which has had a look at what the environment's like and then measuring it over time to see how the improvements we've made have made a change. And similarly for the So Park tool, which is looking at what happens in our parks and recreation places. And lots of surveys with parents, our wellbeing survey and other ways of asking parents and seeing how children are using the spaces. So, and all of those have shown improvements. Lots of strong community support. So we've got 4 major parks and lots of smaller parks in our area. So we're quite lucky, but not all of them had friends of groups, and we've got some new friends of groups for all of those and other local people just looking after the local spaces. Parent-led groups developing their own outdoor activities, so growing activities and things happening in the parks and the green spaces. And working with our partners in all our early years settings, they've suggested that children who've benefited from the work that we've been doing and the Forest Schools Play, which was part of our Better Place project, are showing increased confidence and well-being, and really simple things like working together better, be more confident about exploring and improving language. And we see the Better Place project as a model for change. Next slide. And this is just bringing together all of those things that impact, improving well-being, developing that sense of adventure. And you can see all of those things illustrated in this slide, the things that the children get out of it. And that just makes such a difference. So shall we move on to the next slide? Hopefully I'll catch up on time. There were some barriers and I think we worked out how to overcome quite a lot of these barriers. So a lot of the technical and logistical issues are things that we've been able to work with our partners, and particularly people that work in Sarah's department, just to make sure that what we're doing is doing things that are age appropriate and work and are robust enough. And they've been able to help us a lot with that, and then with the site maintenance. And we know that that's a big challenge for local authorities. We've made an urban range a part of our project. So not only do they engage with local people, but they make sure the sites are all kept up to standard. And we're working for our legacy to see whether that's a possibility for a legacy project. We've helped to identify with parents how we can do things at the times that may work for them and instill confidence in them, because they can see their children doing well and using the things that are provided. I'd said earlier, having more people in the parks and more young families in the parks actually does make them feel safer and reduces antisocial behaviour. Lots of things we've done a lot of things are close to parents now, so it's less necessary for them to travel, and that increases their use of them. And we've made sure that the walking routes that they have to get to those spaces are also improved. And everybody recognises now that being outdoors and being in green spaces improves health. So those barriers, those health barriers, are being overcome too. Funding constraints are always going to be there, but if you're going to spend money on the urban environment, and I think that we always are going to, then we need to make sure we're doing it in the way that brings people out into those spaces and makes them available to them. Right, next slide. I'm nearly done. And this is just adding it all up. So we've had more than 10,400 children have engaged with activities that we've done around our Better Place projects. We've done more than 50 capital improvements in the area, which is significant. We've jointly with our partners planted over 3,000 trees. We've installed 35 sculptures, and we've had a number of air quality improvement projects. Although we're lucky in Bradford that our areas fit in the clean air zone, so our children have benefited from that too. And just the parent feedback is great. They're often amazed by what their children get out of coming to the type of projects the Better Place project provides. So there's a lot to say, far more than I've got time to say today, but it does add up to something really significant and something that we want to see for the future of our district as a whole. Next slide, please. And I'm just going to go through these because they are illustrations of the things I've mentioned. So this is one of our pocket parks that we did. It's very close to here. It's just outside the building here. It was never used by small children before we did this, and now it's used by families with small children all the time, and it's just wonderful to see it. It's also used by a local school, so it's really nice that it's got that multi-use. The next slide, please. I'm going to whiz through these. Horton Park is one of our big parks, and we helped to develop some improved spaces in the park and improve spaces around the local primary school, so linking them together so that the primary school benefited from what was going on in the park and vice versa. Move on to the next one. And here's some of the natural play elements that we put into Horton Park, which are really well used, new, and that have now become an established part of the use of the park. And lots more younger children. We did our SO Park work here, and it was visible the number of younger children attending. We move on, and as you can see, beautiful sculptures. Next slide. Castle Sneaket I mentioned earlier on. This is just a bit more detail of what it's like. So you can see there are play elements to a snicket. You don't get that. You hardly ever see that. It's just so important. And we did this very much in conjunction with local parents. So you can see there's an example of the survey that we did with local people. Anna, can we move on? Tree and shrub planting, which I've mentioned. I'm not going to say any more about that, except that it's just an illustration of where it happened and when it happened. We did also give a lot of trees away to families, so fruit trees and other trees and plants. Next slide. And this is Bowling Park Natural Play, which is one of our other big parks. Lots of really great stuff happened there, including a play area for small children next to the major play area, but also sculptures around the park and a bike track for small children. But one of the things that was, it's not illustrated here, but was most popular was we did a story trail with the 3 bears, and we had to put special matting down around the 3 bears because so many people were going and standing next to them to have their photographs taken, shaking hands with them, and just generally, and that's adults and children as well. They're a really strong feature of that park now, and I think people really love them. Right, I think this is my final illustrative slide. Next one. And I just wanted to mention this as well, because we had a woodland here which nobody ever went into. It was called the Roughs, and it was called the Roughs because it was actually rough. And it's between the park and a local social housing estate. And so we opened it up, put some sculptures in there, put some paths through there, and everybody uses it now. And the friends of group from the park started keeping it tidy. Trees have been planted there. Further paths have been established there. And this woodland has now become a really popular and delightful local woodland. So it's one of the things I'm most proud of. It was the parents who told us if it was improved, they would use it. And so it absolutely came directly from the local community. So thank you. That's my final slide. I just wanted to finish with one of my favourite bits of our project. We'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Gill. we're really running out of time, so I'm going to go
Sorry.
to our next speaker, Alexandra Hoadley from Thriving Green Spaces team up in Edinburgh. Over to you, Alexandra.
Hopefully you can all see my screen there. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm Alexandra Hoadley. I'm a Green Space Development Officer and ecologist based at the City of Edinburgh Council. And I'm here to talk to you today about the Edinburgh Nature Network. So what is the Edinburgh Nature Network? It's a long-term approach to manage, restore and enhance the urban landscape of Edinburgh, and it highlights opportunities to take action across the city using natural solutions to address the threats of biodiversity loss and climate change. You can see a photo of it here. It's an online map of over 200 actions, and we're actually Scotland's first nature network as well. Every area of Scotland is required to have one by 2030. And this is the Scottish equivalent of local recovery networks as well. So how did we go about creating the Edinburgh Nature Network? This was very data-driven, so we mapped habitat networks across the city of Edinburgh, ecosystem services, and then also ground truth these through workshops with local organisations and residents to come up with these actions. And what I really wanted to draw out within this presentation today is one of the ecosystem services that was mapped was health and well-being. So where is the Nature Network? It also very much had people at the centre from the start as well. This work was all funded by the Future Parks Accelerator programme, and this work was in partnership with Scottish Wildlife Trust and the University of Edinburgh. So how did we move from our map of 200 actions to starting to think about delivery? So we chose Leith, an area in North Edinburgh, as our pilot delivery area. Leith has the highest population density in the city, so it was an area to impact a lot of people. And it also had the highest demand for all ecosystem services. And it is also an area of multiple deprivation. So it was an area where we could really think about equal access to good green space in the city and where we could improve nature there as well. You can see on the picture here that we do have some good habitat here, but it's very broken up in terms of our green and blue space by the urban area. So we were thinking about how can we connect and join up our natural spaces and those owned by the council, other organisations, and looked after by the local community as well. We were successful with a grant from Green Space Scotland, which was looking at naturalising park management. We applied with our Nature Network hats on. And so the ones you can see circled in pink there, we were going to redesign with the local community and come up with plans for them and do that hand in hand for nature and for people, and join those up with other ones circled in different colours, which already have plans in place for nature. We also got some capital money for a quick win. So we were able to put in the first wild wee space in the City of Edinburgh. This is a new City of Edinburgh Council programme to engage schools in nature. And we created a quick win with 2 local primary schools. You can see the before on the left, hopefully you prefer the after in the middle, where we'd sown a wildflower meadow and put in some new trees as well. You can see one being planted there. And there'll be ongoing sessions to decide what else the pupils would like to put in and monitor and look after the site as well. And we now also have a permanent team towards this programme at the council to deliver wild wee spaces across the city, and they're a very great partner for us with the Edinburgh Nature Network. And they look holistically as well in terms of nature, climate, managing surface water at these spaces, and many different things. So engagement has been really key for us as we were looking to come up with new plans for these 6 smaller parks in Leith. We held online and in-person co-design workshops. It was really important to bring local expertise into these spaces, capture that local use, needs and interests and what people would like to see, and also how we can improve these spaces for nature as well together. And that also builds that long-term approach and management and stewardship too. It was also very important that we did engagement internally at the council as well, in terms of what's it mean for our operations teams. Was there anything else we could do in terms of managing, say, surface water on these sites and other benefits we could bring? Thinking about other projects in the area, such as housing projects, where we could create more stepping stones across those and other teams too. And it was very important that we had communications at the heart of this. So part of this work was also creating a look and feel for the nature networks. There'll be new park signage going in actually in the next couple of weeks, and thinking about new ways that communities could use these signs as well, and really spread the word on why we need a nature network and to make our city more robust for nature. I thought I'd just show you a couple of the parks as a before and then the development designs as well, just to give you an idea. So you can see that a lot of them had the sort of close cut amenity grass, and just you feel it could be a little bit more both for community use and for nature as well. So here is one of the concept designs here, and I'll also just click through to another one of the illustrations for what it could look like afterwards. So again, we were thinking very holistically in these urban spaces. So people want to see more colour, more wildflower meadows in the area, more trees, more interest, but we were also thinking about accessibility. We were thinking about safety in these spaces. So some of the spaces will have new paths going in. We were thinking about if we wanted to put in hedgerows or trees, ensuring there were still open sight lines across the park. We're also thinking about different ways of planting. So how could we come up with things that are good for pollinators, good for nature, but also drought resistant, and they're going to do well in these urban spaces too. And also really thinking about plants the communities would like to bring in and different things they would like to see in these spaces as well. Just as another example part view here, I think we can all have a look at this space and go, maybe it doesn't feel the most welcoming green space that you can see here. It can feel a bit dark at certain times of the year as well, but there were lots of key local stakeholders that could get involved too. And so again, this is one of the spaces where we were saying we've actually got a good structure here. It just needs a little bit of love. So where we could look at the darker areas of the park, lean into woodland planting, bluebells going in, shrubs, ferns, and really create a woodland walk at the back, create some local performance space as well. There's a lot of festivals that happen near this park. So people thought, let's make this a community area. And then all of these parks also have community beds in them so that the community can come and help take care of the spaces and continue to come up with ideas for what they'd like to see in these parks, such as murals, more things for nature, or anything they would like to see going forward as well. And this is something I'm not going to spend too much time on, but just to show, this was a map of the area of Leith as well, thinking about green routes, connectivity, and those multiple benefits at a neighbourhood level. So joining up the communities from the parks, as well as the parks being stepping stones for nature. So in terms of the next steps, we have our 6 park plans, and we're starting with delivery of 3 of them. The funding for this was from the Nature Restoration Fund direct allocation. We're supporting new Friends of groups for each of these parks. So many of these people were involved in the co-design workshops, and now they'll be helping us literally put these plans into the ground and then caring and having future ideas for them too. We've also, thanks to Groundswell, which is a consortium looking at, as you improve green and blue spaces, how it benefits the health and well-being of local residents. Groundswell are partners at the University of Edinburgh. We've got funding for a horticultural educator to work with these groups for about a year, looking at Leith and specifically these parks. So again, this just means that if people want to get involved and want to say, I'd like to see this in my park, or gardening, or these are the skills I'd like to learn, we'll be able to run events ongoingly. So it's very much supporting these groups and thinking long term to even when we step back as well, so that making sure everyone feels supported. Anything that we do wildlife-wise will be in partnership with the conservation volunteers and open events, such as putting in these wildflower meadows, and there's much delivery in partnership as well. So we really do have these benefits for people in place. We're looking at the neighbourhood level. This also aligns with one of our nature neighbourhood partners in Leith too. And we're also working with Keep Scotland Beautiful to pilot an in your neighbourhood approach. So how can we think outside the parks and do some urban greening as well? And these key learnings will inform citywide rollout of the nature network as well. Some of the challenges have been, how do you keep engagement going when you can have that gap between development and delivery, such as when you're seeking further funding? And again, piloting new ways of working, such as the planting I discussed earlier. And we're really trying to think of that long-term approach to engagement, volunteer support. We have a lot of biodiversity monitoring we're doing as well to evidence benefits, and really working forward with our colleagues and community. I've got one very quick case study, and then I'll be handing that to the panel. But just to show that we are doing more initiatives across the city and building out from Leith, we have a lovely butterfly called the Northern Brown Argus. This is just currently found at one city centre at Holyrood Park, or Arthur's Seat, for those of you that know Edinburgh. It's very specific to its host plant, rock rose, and working again in partnership with Butterfly Conservation and Historic Environment Scotland, we found suitable places for stepping stones. So working hand in hand with volunteers, local organisations like the Carlton Hill Trust and the Museum of Edinburgh, we're starting to put these stepping stones into place, making sure that this butterfly can travel a bit further and hopefully spread its habitat across the city. This is just another small example that lets that partnership working and engagement really is key, and we can only deliver the nature network hand in hand with everybody in the city. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Ollie. I love how this project was rooted in kind of equity and using data-driven methodology and GIS mapping to ensure that that nature really reached the communities that really needed it the most. Sadly, we have run out of time. We've gone over. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the speakers to answer some of the questions and then put them in the chat, if that's okay. And I just want to thank all three of you for your presentations. I know it can be really nerve-wracking, especially when you're using a system that you've not used before. And well done, thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed it and enjoyed the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm not supposed to do a quick bit now, but I'm going to. It's a 15-minute break, so you can all go and get a cup of tea, stretch your legs, and I believe I'll talk to you all again just before 3 when we'll choose our next sessions.